In 2016, I took a long walk in the woods, and it utterly changed my life. It was the best decision I have ever made. My name is Dom&Camera, trail name Footage, and I am an Appalachian Trail thru hiker. A thru hike of the Appalachian Trail is something that I could only dream of as a young kid with a desire to travel and see the world. I grew up in the suburbs of Long Island with no idea how to embark on a life of adventure. I knew a life of adventure was out there, I just didn't know how to obtain it. I didn't know how to begin. Making a decision that results in life straying away from the norm is daunting. Often complacency and comfort get louder in your mind and try to convince you not to make any changes, especially if these changes result in the unknown. But early in my 20s, I had just enough curiosity and openness for things to fall into place, and for this thru hike to become a reality. So I took a leap of faith. I quit my job as a photographer's assistant to free up the time needed to hike the entirety of the AT. In the fall of 2015, it was decided I would hike the Appalachian Trail in the spring of 2016. I did not just want to hike the trail, I wanted to document my trip on video and create a documentary out of it. So I spent half my savings on a new camera and equipment, and the other half would be my budget for the trail. I want to be an adventure documentary filmmaker. How can I become one without making adventure documentaries? This was an opportunity to build a portfolio while also living the life that I dreamed of. It was officially happening. So on March 21st, 2016, I took a bus from New York City to Atlanta, Georgia, and then an Uber to Michelola Falls to the Approach Trail. And the rest is history. These are the lessons that my thru hike taught me. Lesson 1. Starting is the hardest part. Just get yourself there. You cannot wait for things to happen to you. You have to make them happen. Most of the difficulty in a goal is identifying exactly what it is that you want and then taking the first step in the direction to achieve it. It is in that first step that you have committed to pursuing a life of new and unknown possibility. Some people told me that I should do a shakedown hike or do a small overnight trip to see how it goes. But I made the decision not to do that. Why risk feeling discouraged? Once I get started, I will have the whole journey to learn, and ultimately, nothing can truly prepare you for hiking up and down mountains day in and day out for months on end. Day by day, the mysteries are solved, and you learn as you go.
Just finished up the 7.5 mile approach trail from Michelola, and it was tough. It was a rude awakening. Tough first day hiking.
Knowledge obtained by research or reading books or watching videos is different from the knowledge gained through experience. Once you were thrust into a situation that you have to find a way out of, you were forced to learn then and there, and the lesson is more likely to stick.
It was a rough night of sleep. Not much sleep. Not that comfortable. But I'm ready to get walking again.
The second lesson that I learned is to take it one step at a time. No matter how seemingly large the task at hand is, do not become overwhelmed by the size. Instead, just look right in front of you and chip away at that distance one step at a time. Consistency is more important than intensity. Once you are on trail, it's easier to take another step than it is to call it quits. When you feel like giving up, most likely you are miles or even days away from a road, where you would then have to coordinate rides here and there, and then somehow get home. By the time you hike those miles or days, there are so many moments of gratitude that remind you of the reason you went out there to begin with, and your frustration dissipates. That is the natural ebb and flow of a challenge. The challenge of a thru hike is withstanding that doubt and continuing to move forward. It's important to balance long-term goals with short-term goals. Every time I was feeling discouraged or overwhelmed, there was another mile marker that allowed me to feel a sense of accomplishment. I always had something to look forward to. The next shelter, the next town, the next state.
Crossing over into Virginia, the checkpoint mile marker. Good stuff, I'm excited. And watch me go from Tennessee to Virginia, and we're in Virginia. Feels different. Looks the same.
This brings me to the next lesson. The trail provides. You can't help but hear this motto when you're out on the trail thru hiking, and that's probably because it's true. I can't tell you how many times the trail provided for me, and it was always at just the right time. Whenever I was feeling down or defeated, there would be an occurrence to pick me up. A conversation with a stranger or fellow thru hiker, or trail magic when you least expect it. The universe is always at work. But I think living a simple life makes you more open to seeing the omens it provides, the little signs that you are on the right path. I had been familiar with this concept prior to the trail from reading a book called The Alchemist. The Alchemist says it in different words, however. When you want something, the whole universe conspires in order for you to achieve it. These words became more than just a great quote when I was on the trail. They became an ideology that I live by. And I don't believe this to mean that if you just hope for something, it will happen. I believe you have to initiate your luck or good fortune by being proactive. I believe it means if you are brave enough to start a hard journey or follow a dream, the universe will meet you halfway. Put in the work, put in the miles, and good things will come. Put yourself on the path, and the rest of the way will reveal itself. This idea is in an old African proverb as well. It goes, when you pray, move your feet. By walking on trail, you put yourself on a path that allows you to experience new things every single day. Fellow hiker and author Cheryl Strayed says it better than me in her book, Wild. There's always a sunrise and always a sunset, and it's up to you to choose to be there for it. Put yourself in the way of beauty. There are so many opportunities to welcome wonder, connection, and serendipity. You are giving yourself more chances to experience this grace by just leaving routine and familiarity behind. I believe that traveling allows us to become children again. Everything is new in a foreign place, and there's so much to take in. It heightens your senses and makes memories more withstanding. I'll take a break from the philosophical and give you a story that encapsulates the trail providing in spades. My first hitch was by a lovely couple who happened to be past thru hikers. They went by the name the Mooners because they hiked the AT as their honeymoon. They gave me a ride into Franklin, Tennessee. They just happened to be doing some hiking in the area, and after passing me and a friend of mine hitching on the side of the road, they made a U-turn and gave us a ride into town. They told me to look them up when I got to Buena Vista, Virginia. True trail angels. So fast forward months later, and I'm at Trail Days in Damascus, Virginia. I had already hiked through Damascus and made it to Partnership Shelter about 60 miles north. I wasn't dead set on going to Trail Days, but I figured, hey, if it works out, it works out. So I'm sitting at the road by Partnership Shelter trying to get some reception on my phone. So this dude pulls up in his car. He asks if the shower's working at the shelter. Yes, there's a shower at Partnership Shelter, if you didn't know that. This guy was a pass-through hiker named Beans. He's on his way to Trail Days, but wanted to stop to freshen up. Dude asked me if I want to ride to Trail Days. Yes. So I got my ride to Trail Days, but no ride back. I was just winging it because I believed so hard by that time in the trail providing. It will work out. I can find a ride somehow. Worst case, I have to pay someone or find a shuttle or a bus. Thru hikers are resourceful. I would figure it out. The car ride ended up becoming a special part of my trail experience. Just swapping stories of thru hiking and just talking about life and our love for Herman Hesse books. So I arrived with Beans in Damascus late at night while it was dark. We concluded our trip with a couple swigs of whiskey that he pulled out of his jacket. I thanked him and we went our separate ways. I set up my tent in the dark in one of the few spots I could find vacant in Tent City. I wake up the next morning, and when I exit my tent, who do I see set up at the tent next to mine? The Mooners. The frickin' Mooners. I couldn't believe it. Long story short, they ended up giving me a ride back to Partnership Shelter after trail days, and they hosted me for a night in Buena Vista when I eventually made it there. They were even kind enough to host a barbecue for me and my trail family. Like I said, true trail angels. There was also the time where after splitting up from my friend who I started with, I was without a pot to cook with. A couple days later, I'm at a shelter, setting up my camp, and I overhear someone around the shelter campfire randomly say, "Does anyone need a pot? I have a set and I'm thinking about getting rid of one." Yes I do. The trail provides. Just take my word for it. The next lesson that I learned, overcoming the fear of missing out. I'd be lying if I said I didn't experience FOMO when I was on the trail. It seems crazy to say that, but yes, there were many times while I was on this amazing, once-in-a-lifetime adventure that I felt like I was missing out on something back home. It's hard to not take the experience of thru hiking for granted. 5 months is a long time to not have thoughts that being elsewhere could be better. There's plenty of lonely, cold, and wet days over the course of a thru hike. It's not until after you are finished that you realize those were the good times too. But ultimately, I concluded that I am responsible for my own happiness and I am responsible for choosing how to spend my time. And I could choose to be content just doing the same old in my hometown, or I could embark on a new and challenging experience that will allow me to grow as a person and create lifelong memories. And it turned out I wasn't missing out on much. It is so easy to make a big deal out of social events or family obligations when you are in the rat race. But life is filled with those, and the real world will be there waiting for you whenever you choose to go back. In the grand scheme of things, 5 to 6 months isn't that long when you measure a lifetime. And if something comes along that is truly important that you don't want to miss, no one is forcing you to stay on trail. Make arrangements to leave and then find your way back and keep going. The next lesson that I learned was to be grateful, always. There is always an opportunity to be grateful. Gratitude is often an elixir to most negative thought patterns. No matter who you are on this planet, you have something to be grateful for. It's when we lose sight of gratitude for what we have and choose to focus on what we lack that problems of the mind begin to arise. The fixation on the less important, trivial things are front and center of mind. There's something very centering about a minimalist lifestyle, and it doesn't get much more minimal than living out of a backpack and traveling by foot. This lifestyle brings less distraction and allows one to go inward to take inventory on what is truly important. Even on the bad days, it's not so bad. I didn't expect this as a result of my thru hike, but my hike truly restored my faith in humanity. The amount of wonderful people I met along the way truly opened my eyes to how many perfect strangers there are out there. This goes for hikers and trail angels alike. There's just so many interesting people out there ready to shatter your stereotypes and preconceived notions that you have developed throughout your life. Be it from the media or your environment and upbringing, it is just such a delight to meet people from different walks of life. I loved hearing other people's stories about what got them to the trail. Just think about all the people that you pass throughout the day or have passed throughout your life. Everybody has their own story. And while I was hiking, I was aware that everybody that I came across must have been a special human being. There was that recognition that those hikers also got to the trail for one reason or another, and they took the willingness to shake up their lives. I will never forget the people I hiked with and the friendships forged along the way. I like to say that trail relationships age in dog years, because a relationship on the trail is accelerated because you suffer together. And also you just end up spending lots of time together, hiking, sharing meals, talking. Your lives on trail reach a synchronicity. I'm so thankful for the time that I was synced up with my trail family. Trail angels are the biggest reason that my faith in humanity was restored. I met so many trail angels just helping out hikers with nothing expected in return. They truly just want to make a person's day or to help assist them in achieving a dream. These people are a special breed, and I will spend the rest of my life paying their generosity forward. The final lesson is that life is a journey. A thru hike is a perfect metaphor for life. There's a beginning and an end, and in between, there's lots of struggle, challenges, peaks, and valleys. But all the lows make the highs truly worth it. One of my favorite quotes from Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia and just badass businessman and environmentalist, is this: "It's not an adventure until something goes wrong." I kept these words in mind throughout my whole entire thru hike. Just knowing that obstacles were to be expected. They weren't something that you try to get over to get back to your journey. They are the journey. Every time there's a challenge, I try to remember that. Moral of the story is, our lives are just like the trail, and there's always going to be challenges that we need to overcome to keep moving forward. We can't stop, we can't turn back. Time doesn't stop for anybody. So all you can do is just move forward, so that at the end of the day, you could stand at the top of that summit proud of what you overcame to end up there. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys got something out of this list of lessons. Please let me know what you thought. If you agree with some of these lessons, if you learned them firsthand on your thru hike, or if you have any to add. Thanks again for watching, and happy trails.